To change. Mayor Jimenez saying to expect a lot of changes tomorrow, a lot of statements coming, as well as in the coming days. But first, he also addressed, and here we have a soundbite from him, the first case of coronavirus confirmed here in Miami-Dade County.
That individual is at home, which to me appears to be a good sign, saying that if he's not in the hospital, he probably has COVID-19, but hopefully for that individual, it is not a serious case of COVID-19. It's a 56-year-old individual, and so that's the first case for Miami-Dade County, and so we will be taking much more aggressive action.
And of course, also discussed is President Trump's announcement that travel and cargo from Europe, except for the UK, will be suspended for 30 days starting on Friday. That, of course, will have an effect here at Miami-Dade County and here at Miami International Airport, no doubt having an effect on the local economy as well, saying that there are 15 flights in and out of Europe that would be affected here. And that, of course, would also have an effect on cargo coming in and out of Europe as well. They say that a even bigger hit would be if cargo and flights were affected from Latin America, because that's where the majority of the travel, the international travel, comes from. But this will no doubt still be a hit coming from Europe. Again, we can expect some more concrete information and statements coming from the mayor's office tomorrow. Expect some major, he says, aggressive changes. And of course, that state of emergency will go into effect tomorrow morning. We're live at Miami International Airport. I'm Leanne Morejon, Local 10 News.
All right, Leanne, thank you. And just to recap, the Florida Department of Health announcing 3 new cases of COVID-19 tonight, in addition to the first Miami-Dade case.
Hey, there's also a 5th case confirmed in Broward. The patient is a 70-year-old man who attended an EMS conference in Tampa.
The 3rd new case announced tonight is a 63-year-old New York resident currently in St. Johns County. This is a travel-related case.
And now the number of known COVID-19 cases in the state of Florida stands at 31, and the death toll remains at 2.
This is the most aggressive and comprehensive effort to confront a foreign virus in modern history.
And tonight, President Trump addressing the nation on the coronavirus outbreak as the World Health Organization declares it a global pandemic. The president suspended all travel, as you just heard from Leanne, from Europe to the U.S. for 30 days starting this Friday.
And that's not the only action he announced. Our D.C. Bureau Chief Ross Colombo is live at the White House. Ross.
Well, Calvin and Nicole, as you've been talking about for a few minutes now, the president did announce that stunning travel restriction to most of Europe, essentially everywhere except Britain, for the next 30 days. And here at home, the president announcing a slew of financial fixes to help ease the economic pain.
I have decided to take several strong but necessary actions to...
The president laying out his plan to get past coronavirus.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States.
Trump suspending travel for
suspend rent and electricity bills.
The UK.
The new rules will go into effect Friday at midnight.
After meeting with the country's top banks, and after the Dow plunged more than 1,400 points, dropping it into a bear market, Trump focusing on the economy.
I will soon be taking emergency action, which is unprecedented, to provide financial relief. The SBA will begin providing economic loans to provide Americans with immediate payroll tax relief. I will be instructing the Treasury Department to defer tax payments.
The president's address coming after direct and dire testimony before Congress from the president's own task force doctor.
It is 10 times more lethal than the seasonal flu. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
His words more sober and serious than past comments coming from the president.
It will go away, just stay calm. It will go away. It's like a miracle. It will disappear. We're finding very little problem.
Democrats outraged at the constant dismissals and contradictions.
So the president of the United States cannot be relied upon.
He clearly does not take the coronavirus epidemic seriously.
Someone said he needs to be quiet. He needs to shut his mouth.
After that, Trump tweeting out, someone needs to tell the Democrats in Congress that coronavirus doesn't care what party you are in.
We are all in this together. We must put politics aside.
Earlier, Democrats moving forward themselves and presenting their own plan.
A series of measures Congress can take up to provide immediate relief and economic relief to working Americans during the coronavirus outbreak.
Well, the president also tonight talking about more financial relief for workers who are sick and who need to be quarantined. But Calvin and Nicole, the president not releasing any details of those upcoming plans yet.
Okay, Ross, thanks a lot. We have more breaking news tonight. The NBA announcing the suspension of the rest of the season after a player tested positive for coronavirus. Let's get right to Local 10 Sports Director Will Manso live in the newsroom with the details.
Hey, Nicole, this is a shocking development tonight. The NBA has suspended, as you mentioned, the remainder of the season. That is until further notice. This after Utah Jazz player Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID-19. Now, the Jazz and Thunder were set to play a game tonight in Oklahoma City. That game was delayed as officials waited for the confirmation from the league. Now, once the positive test was made official, players were taken off the court and the game postponed. In a statement, the league said in part, quote, the NBA is suspending gameplay following the conclusion of tonight's scheduled games until further notice. The NBA will use this hiatus to determine next steps for moving forward in regard to the coronavirus pandemic. Now, all of this was happening as the Heat were hosting the Charlotte Hornets at the American Airlines Arena. In the final moments of the game, a Heat loss. Players and coaches were made aware of the NBA's decision. Here's Heat head coach Eric Spoelstra shortly after the game.
I mean, obviously, we literally just found out the news. I found out as I was walking to the locker room. Our locker room is still stunned. And we just, this is a very serious time right now. I think the league moved appropriately and prudently.
Spoelstra went on to say that a conference call is scheduled tomorrow with league officials for all teams to get an update of what's next. Calvin?
Well, it's such a major development. Okay, thanks a lot there, Will. And the coronavirus strikes a major Hollywood celebrity today. Actor Tom Hanks says he and his wife, actress Rita Wilson, have been diagnosed with COVID-19. Hanks posted this statement on Instagram saying the two were traveling in Australia when they were tested. The Post read in part, quote, we, Hanks, will be tested, observed, and isolated for as long as public health and safety requires, end quote. And right now, back here in the state of Florida, universities in Florida are now taking proactive measures to mitigate the risks.
And Local 10's Christian De La Rosa is live at FIU with the move to remote learning. Christian.
Well, first, let's be very clear. There are no confirmed cases of coronavirus here at FIU or any other college or university campus in South Florida. That's at last check. And that being said, FIU, along with all other public university campuses, are about to become essentially ghost towns to try to fight the spread of this virus.
That's the prudent thing to do.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis echoing orders from the state university system. All state public universities switch to online classes as soon as possible to minimize the spread of COVID-19.
Students who reside on campus and are able to return home are encouraged to do so.
FIU's President Mark Rosenberg sending us a video recorded statement. He says while students will be taking classes remotely, staff members are expected to show up to work as scheduled. Students on FIU's campus have mixed reactions.
I mean, I think it's a little bit annoying. I'm personally someone who doesn't really enjoy online classes.
I don't want to be in any mass gatherings, so I'm kind of relieved.
Just as long as we wash our hands and just stay safe.
So you think it's a little overblown to go remote?
Yeah.
Florida Atlantic University saying in a statement they're following suit when classes resume from spring recess on Monday. Guidelines sent out by the University of Miami say classes will start as scheduled Monday, but they are preparing to move to online classes. UM is also canceling on-campus gatherings of 50 people or more. State officials also encouraging students on spring break to stay home for 2 weeks and follow CDC guidelines if they're not feeling well or are showing symptoms of the coronavirus. And Nova Southeastern University tonight also sending us a statement saying they are working on going to all classes being online in the next few weeks. One thing we keep hearing, though, this plan to go remote mode is expected to go on for the next 2 weeks, but the situation is fluid and things could change very quickly. Speaking of changes, we're expecting to hear more and learn more about the situation. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is expected to hold a press conference tomorrow at Jackson Memorial Hospital. We will bring you the latest. For now, we are live in FIU. I'm Christian De La Rosa, Local 10 News.
Well, Christian, we heard from the governor earlier today. He says that he's putting in place temporary restrictions on who visits nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and similar facilities across the state. That includes people who have traveled internationally and people living in a community with confirmed community spread.
These are important efforts to mitigate the risk to our most vulnerable population to COVID-19, which is our elderly population, and particularly those who have serious underlying medical conditions.
The town of Bay Harbor Islands has declared a state of emergency, fearing a worker may be sick with coronavirus. This morning, the mayor sent out a letter calling this a presumptive positive, but we've since learned that's not the case. Turns out the worker hadn't even been tested by the time the letter went out. We're told that person was fearful because she had recently traveled to New York. She has since been tested and results are pending.
And another coronavirus scare today in Miami-Dade. It happened after a police report started circulating on social media saying a 21-year-old had tested positive for COVID-19 at Kendall Regional Medical Center and died, but that post was deleted, and the hospital has released a statement saying there are no cases of coronavirus there at this time. The Florida Health Department has only